Lunar eclipse in Virgo, 2:14 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, March 14th. It's all about shedding, and we need to get straight into it. I'm your host, Candace Johnson. Let's go. I'm going to apologize now if you hear a duck, a dog, or a cat. It's been a hectic 2 weeks over here. I'll tell you more as the story unfolds in the episode. But as I do this, I'm considering them, so just stay with me. It's been crazy over here. It's been rough. You hear? So we have the Virgo lunar eclipse, and it's happening right with the South Node, which is automatically giving us clues that we're going to have to release some things, let some stuff go. And it's talking to that major planetary alignment that's happening, right? We talked about this last month. With Venus being in retrograde, it's all about reharmonizing our life and getting everything fine-tuned. That is going to require us to let some stuff go. And I really want you to just let this energy play out. As we go through it, you'll understand more why. So let's get right into what this means. So let's cover what Virgo is and look at it even more than we have before, okay? Virgo is all about abundance. Virgo is the sign of after you've planted all of the seeds, you've sown seeds, right? Virgo is the abundance that you experience from the sowing. So it's the sowing after the reaping, okay? You reap what you sow. Now, in this analogy, seeds are thoughts, okay? So if you imagine a garden, and every time you think, you're scattering out a seed, you're putting out an intention, okay? And in Virgo season, we see what has grown from those thoughts that have gone out. And as we see what has grown, this garden is going to have some beautiful blooms, some things you're loving, the way that they're growing. It's going to have some weeds. It's going to have some mess. This is your cleanup time, okay? One thing that I want you to think about, though, when it comes to this, and it's just so funny, I want you to think about the weeds more than anything else, okay? It's time for you to determine the value that you've extracted from the work that you have done previously, and to assess it from the perspective, because remember, Virgo is very analytical. She's all about that, writing things down and making sure things are organized. What's working, what's not working, okay? And it's already shown itself to you. The moon is revealing it to you. For me, I'm just going to go there. So the last episode that I filmed, I had a meeting with my investor right after, and we went over like the direction for my skincare company. And I had this crazy elaborate plan of like going straight to this box company where everything was going to be in kits. And after the meeting, I was really excited. I felt like we had some plans, we had a direction. And then that night, I don't know what happened. I just started to feel like my body started hurting. I started feeling weak. And I started feeling really sad, all right? And I took a bath because that's what I know to do, like when I'm in this state, and I was just crying and crying. And then by Saturday, I could barely move. I was despondent. I was in the state of despair. I had never truly experienced the energy like this before, but it was hard. I did not know what it was, and I was just crying. My tear ducts hurt. By Sunday, I thought, it's a bright day, it's a sunny day, I'm going to feel better. No, it was not better. It was worse. And I could not get off the couch. I could barely lift my head. And then all of a sudden it hit me. I don't want to do Luluti anymore, my skincare company, which I've had for 5 years. It's too hard. I'm not seeing the success that I want from it. Every dollar that I make goes back to it. I'm overwhelmed by it. There are boxes everywhere and bottles everywhere. And the moment I admitted it to myself, and to my husband, I just shattered into a ball of tears. I text my best friend because I was like, I think I want to let go of Luluti. And my body cleared all of this energy. I could walk again. I could move again. Energy came back like that. It was insane. So I met with my homies. We talked about it. And I'm like, okay, so I'm letting this company go. All week, I'm going to extract value. What did I learn? What have I gained? What am I going to still do? What am I using? What am I getting rid of? Okay. And I cleaned the house as best that I could. By Thursday, okay, I'm just getting feeling a lot better about Luluti. I think I know where I'm going. By Thursday, My husband usually doesn't let the ducks out. And he goes outside to let the ducks out. And he comes back in and he's practically speechless. He can't tell me anything. And so like finally he breaks down and the ducks have been attacked by a raccoon. And it was a bloodbath. Okay. I've had these ducks for 5 years. I got all of this stuff at the same time. This was during COVID. And they were like such a light in our life. And one of them did not make it. And it was brutal. It was terrible to witness, to see that. The other one was so badly injured. And then we had one who was unscathed. Okay. I get the two in the house. And so for the next 3 days, I'm grieving my duck. We are grieving as a family. And then the second duck she dies 3 days later. And so we're grieving this duck again, the next duck. And I'm just raw emotionally. Okay. I'm just done. The grief was beautiful. I cannot lie. There was this coming together as a family, and like the way we buried them, and we planted trees, and we really just let ourselves like collapse. And I saw this like understanding of this energy of this animal and this connection that I have to animals. So much came from this experience. Simultaneously, my bestie, just bless her heart, she buys me a ticket to Portugal for our friend's 40th birthday because she does not want me to not go. And I'm just so fucking grateful. Like, I have not been out of this country. This is all happening at the same time in so long. I just fucking love her. Okay, so this happens. And also, I start getting orders for Luluti more than I've gotten in months, okay? Every day an order comes in. 2 wholesale inquiries come in. And I'm like, well, what am I doing now? Do I let this company go or do I stay? And then I'm witnessing the astrology as I tell it, okay? And it's happening so much in my life as well. So where I'm going with this is that as you seek the garden and you go out to see where your sowing is, where your abundance is, and you see these weeds, I started herbal remedies 2 of these lunation cycles ago. And I'm looking back, and I'm going to give you these dates for the new moon that was in Virgo, the first quarter moon that was in Virgo, and now this is the full moon in Virgo. And we're tracking this together. Remember, if you're moon tracking with me, you can get the worksheets to fill out what happens during these cycles on my website with your login. Like, you just have to subscribe. But I started doing herbal remedies from my garden, healing myself, and started offering it to my clients. And they have not been selling well, and they start selling this week. All right. And I'm telling you this because it happened in these 2 lunation cycles. And I think there's something about the weeds in the garden. So when you go into this garden and you look for your abundance and you see these weeds in your garden, don't just get rid of them. These things in your life that you think are supposed to go, don't just get rid of them. There's something to extract from them. Okay. That's where I'm going here. I don't want to get too far off course. I read this fun study the other day about teas and herbal remedies and leaves and water, pretty much, when you drink a tea. As the tea is extracting the nutrients into the water, or the flavor, whatever is in there, it's also pulling in heavy metals and filtering the water that you're drinking, which is pretty freaking cool, right? If you want some herbal remedies, the website is still up at luludiskincare.com. But listen to this. I started thinking about weeds in the garden because I'm thinking about your seeds, your thoughts, right? You put out thoughts for things that you want to grow. Some of those thoughts are good. Some of those thoughts are not so good, right? We're learning to control our thoughts. But all of it goes out. And then when it grows, you recognize and have gratitude for all of it, not just the beautiful flowers. Why? Because that weed, as it's telling you this example of what your thoughts have been manifesting, you have something to extract from that is so valuable. And it's purifying your garden. It's purifying your experience. So when you come across stuff that you think it's got to go, you've got to stop and consider why it's there and pull from it and allow it to naturally clean up this trauma, clean up this heaviness, remove the things that are not working, get rid of the barriers and the blockages. If you just get rid of the weed, I feel like you're missing a very important step. And that there is something that it's offering you that is like a gift that is just as valuable as the flowers. In the business, we say that a weed is a plant you just don't know the function of yet, because I haven't found anything out there that grows that hasn't had a nutrient or a value to it in some way, right? So everything that you put out has value. You need to determine what it means to you and what you can learn from it. So when you replace that, when you decide to use that weed and extract all the value from it, you have something now you can plant there in its place to ensure that you're growing what you want to grow. I want you to remember that, okay? Think about that as we go through the month, and you're going to have more clarity at the end of this episode. Next, let's talk about the dates so that you can track where these areas of your life. Some things that I found was I had started my herbal remedies at the first new moon, like I just said. I had started drawing again. I hadn't been drawing in years. I went to art school, but I hadn't done it. I started drawing again. I have so many notes here. I started doing the box company that I'm talking about now. I was starting to put kits together, okay, which is crazy. And then I was really focused on lymphatic draining as something that I was pushing. The first quarter. Now, the new moon is like new directions, new opportunities, new growth. The first quarter moon is all about like seeing where everything is and like kind of knowing where you still need to work and like getting the next bout of inspiration out. And it like tells you where the issues are of where you need to go next. Okay. So the next lunation cycle, vision board book launches that I wrote. That launches, I'm working on that. I come up with the next round of herbal remedies. I come up with the castor oil balm. The castor oil balm is one of my best sellers. It's just castor oil and a balm so you don't make a mess. I also started painting. So I started drawing first, and then at the second lunation cycle, I started painting. And even now, I started drawing and painting. I've been doing it somewhat, but I had paused, and I'm doing it again at this moon cycle without realizing it. But I'm seeing these connections to help me determine where to go next. Now that I see, like, finally the tea started selling this week. This is the time for culminations, and it kind of lets you know the plan or the issue that's coming up that will help you move forward with this so that you can reap the harvest of it, okay? So you can see the dates here. The new moon was 9/14/2023. And I look back at my iPhone photos and like sometimes emails, and that's the best way for me to remember what happened then. And then the first quarter moon is 6/14/2024. And obviously this is the full moon. Now, if you go to my website and you subscribe, you get this moon tracking software, I'm going to call it, where you write down everything, and then you will then you'll look through your photos and write down what happened 2 lunation cycles prior to this, and it'll give you a pattern of what areas are cultivating and evolving in your life based on where you are right now, okay? Okay, so now after we've talked about just like the major Virgo energy, remember we're going to talk about the I Ching, the gene keys, and the human design. And I want to go over what those are because I have another episode coming next month about the history of the I Ching and how it works with gene keys and human design and astrology. So I kind of want to introduce you to these concepts a little bit more. Remember that when we look at the I Ching or the gene keys, it's like a hexagram block, okay, which gives you a gate number, which you find in human design, gene keys, I Ching, okay? Each of those hexagram lines represents 1 degree and maybe some change in astrology, all right? And it's like a block of energy. Now, when you think about it, it's like a phase of energy. And then we look at the Sabian symbol, which is 1 degree of that energy. So it's like we're looking at all of the Virgo energy first. Then we're honing in on 6 degrees. Then we're honing in on 1 degree. And that'll give you a full understanding of where this energy is. But I want you to understand a little bit more about what this energy means that we're going into, because we're going into the energy of conflict. That is what this full moon represents, and it's very important to talk about so that you don't do the wrong thing. Okay, so you see these 6 lines here. These 6 lines can be broken down into 2 lines, and each of them will give you some information. So in this conflict, we've got 3 lines here. And this is going to represent yang energy, 3 of them together, all yang, each line represents yang, light. It's all about assertive energy. It represents strength, creativity, leadership, and heaven. It's got upward movement, okay? Now, yin, the feminine Jesus Christ. The feminine energy is all about the dark energy. It's all about the primordial space. That's represented with 2 dashes, okay? And it's got a lot to do with binaural code, which is what we'll get into later, but in the next episode. But these 3 stacks, so you've got the first 3 stacks are yang, 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 and then the bottom 3 stacks are yin, yang, yin, okay? So you've got 2 dashes, a line, and 2 dashes. These 3 represent water. It's all about flow, receptivity, but it's a downward movement. So heaven is an upward movement. It's all masculine. It's all one energy. It's very direct because of that, okay? And then this downward energy is not all yins, which would still represent conflict because those 2 aren't the same, but it's weighed down by the yin. The light is being brought down into darkness, okay? And that's how we think of these energies. So when you see a hexagram, you look at the first 3 and then you look at the second 3, and this is heaven over water. The 3 yangs represent heaven. The yin, yang, yin represents water. Okay, so heaven over water is conflict because the dominant energy in the second hexagram series is opposite of the first one. And so they're not necessarily simpatico, which automatically creates conflict. And we're going to talk about why. Okay, so let's talk about conflict. And we're going to go back to something about the I Ching before we do. I want you to see that everything comes from source, okay? It's all one. The first separation is yin versus yang. We have dark and light, and that is what forges the separation between when God, source, the primordial, the everything that exists all at once, decided to split itself. If you think of a cell splitting itself, to do so, it's 2 essences of the same idea, right? The same being splits itself in 2. I need you to know that part. And to properly split yourself without completely detaching, there has to be magnetism and resonance, okay? To properly split yourself, each of these aspects have to have discerning qualities to them, okay? That's separated from its counterpart, opposition, while having some form of resonance that also keeps them together. And that is what creates the movement, the dark and the light, okay? So the first split is masculine and feminine. This is all about the battle of the sexes, which is what forges the split further down the line. This energy continues to split, and we see it all throughout humanity in various forms of battles, wars, all of this, okay? We'll get more into that when we talk about the gene keys. But what you have to recognize is that for source to create this reality and to create the light that we are, this ray that is shining off of source that we embody and we are, it had to have something that kept it separate and something that kept it together. We know when we are, and hold on, let's say this first. If you think of it as 2 bubbles, okay? And we recognize that everything in this room is energy, it's not real. And when I hit my hand on this table here, that they smash apart, okay? They're almost conflicting. They're not going in the same direction. They are coming up to head with one another, okay? My nose is itchy. I want you to think about the idea of friction, okay? And at the same time, you can only experience resonance that interacts and engages with your energy. So there is a bounce back to keep these 2 atoms separate based on the magnitude of each of them to create separation. But there is a congruent resonance between all of this to allow us to experience it all. We have to have some sort of agreement. We have to have something we are in tune with. So there are parts, and you'll see this with everyone in your life. There are parts you are completely in harmony with, and there are parts where you are disharmonious. harmonious. It's the harmony and the rhythms don't match. If all of the harmony rhythm matched this harmony and rhythm, they would come together and be one again. Something has to keep them separate. And so that is the male, the woman, the innie, the outie. The extreme opposites of these two sides are what keep this reality in movement, okay? And conflict happens when this resonance cannot find a place to attach, even though there's something drawing these two things together, okay? And it's very interesting if you think about it like that, and how often as a person, as a human, we go out looking for these battles of these two atoms bouncing off of each other, this electrical impulse that it is, okay? So let's go further and go back to I Ching to distill this even more. Not that we left I Ching. Okay, I'm going to read you what the I Ching says. So, great self-discipline, patience, and skill are all required to tame the inner beast. The organic integrity of the world at large depends upon the certainty of the order of things. In this case, we are considering one incontrovertible rule. Discipline controls passion, okay? There's one way to tame the inner beast, only one. It requires carefully managed personal accomplishments with the patient resoluteness of being. It requires, I'm going to say this again, carefully managed personal accomplishments. Carefully managed personal accomplishments. Virgo energy. Your systems and the things that you are doing to bring in abundance and to ensure that this manifestation is everything that you want. You have to carefully manage these accomplishments, okay? With a patient resoluteness of being, with a congruent energy of understanding that it's all coming to you. However, it is well worth the effort, since when we find the power to control our animal side, we can enlist the full package of natural resources allocated to us, which we will then find entirely adequate for us to fulfill all of our needs and desires. When you learn to evolve from your animalistic nature and stop going in the direction of impulses, you create a congruent energy that allows things to naturally magnify towards you. Manifestation, right? There's a warning in this. Control is inevitable. We need to choose whether to impose or to be imposed upon. Every individual is subject to controlling processes in their experience of life. And if we fail to give conscious attention to our potential to influence outcomes, then this probably leads towards a conditioned existence. If you know that when you put your intention on something, you can change it, you're winning, okay? It is usually futile to show off or boast about our power and talents. This is often proof that we have indeed succumbed to the conditioning. Self-proclamation has its advantages at times, but certainly not as an attempt at avoidance of the process of personal clearing. You got to know where you're standing, okay? You got to know where you're doing good and where you need to change, and not from a place of beating yourself up, but from a place of being able to actively change it. Certain life imperatives rule us all. Whether to be a master or slave is usually a big one. We are required to dominate or be dominated. And for those of us who find this choice uncomfortable, we will probably end up reluctantly submissive or ineffectually rebellious. Okay? So we have this game of trying to top each other based on tribalism. All right? Grouping ourselves and trying to see why the other is not as good as we are, okay? And it ends up making you a slave to that tribe, because you can't leave that scenario that you've attached yourself to out of your ego, really, is what it's saying. There is but one exception to this general rule. Where we have escaped conditioning, finally have completed a deep process of healing and introspective. This is followed by masterly self-controlled and the resultant passionate, focused intentionality of being. So you can focus in when you start being honest with yourself about where your conflicts are and where you're fighting the world and where you're fighting yourself and where you're fighting your dreams and where you're putting up the blocks. When you can see and extract from that the tea, right? And pull from that what you need, then you can do things with more intention because now you know where you're supposed to be going and where you need to stay away from. All right. Now, Virgo is a multi-layered energy. All of them are. That's what makes it so fabulous. But so there's one portion of it where it's about abundance, okay? Physicality because it's connected to Earth and what you do on Earth to bring more in for yourself, magnify more experiences. But you can't just think about this as tangible goods or money or career. You have to think about it also from the perspective of intimacy. Okay, that's what we're going to talk about when we look at it from the direction of human design, gate 6. Okay, what they tell us about. Picture it, Northern Michigan. Okay, all adults, inclusive astrology days. I'm not going to call it a weekend because it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay. It's going to be the middle of the week. You're going to escape your life. You're going to forge your new destiny. You're going to learn all about astrology and we're going to build your cosmic blueprint together. You are going to know all about your astrology. You're going to know your transit charts, your human design, and your gene keys. We're taking the sprinter up to the dark sky park, which is right over there. We're aligning and connecting to the stars at night with the peace pipe. It is going to be a wonderful retreat for 8 to 10 women. End of September. Everything is getting planned out right now. And I'm working with Otis Harbor Springs in Northern Michigan. It is going to be peak beauty fall, but still a little bit warm. All of the food is local, and we have a chef making all of these fabulous meals to your preference. Beautiful sleeping accommodations, and they call it like an adult camping ground. So it's fabulous. It's beautiful. It's going to be very exciting. If you would like to join me on this journey and take this retreat with me and learn about your blueprint, all you have to do is go to the link in the bio and add your name to the email list, and I'll be sending out information shortly about this retreat. I'd love to see you. I'd love to parlay with you. You'll have an oracle all to yourself for 3 days and bond with people you may have never met before. So if you'd like to join me, link in the bio. It's the Astrology Girls Trip. Let's do it. In human design, this is connected to our sacral chakra. And this is very interesting because you either have a defined sacral chakra or you don't. And you can find that if you subscribe to the website, you can pull your human design chart. I think I have $15 for a human design reading that you can have sent directly to you in your email and access immediately. And you will know if your sacral chakra is defined or not. Okay. But we're all dealing with this emotional wave right now. So if it's undefined versus defined, it still matters to you. Okay. But there's a defined solar plexus is all about one's authority and that emotional wave required to wait and find clarity over time. If the channel of mating is considered from a not self theme, confusion enters. One should be delicate and wait for a healthy relationship to be forged to become intimate with anyone. This is not just about sex. This is about the people that you connect with. Remember, this is connected to the Venus retrograde. So it's all about finding harmony and resonance in your friendship groups, your relationships, everything that you deal with in your reality is a relationship because it's you and it's the other thing. All right. And are you in conflict with it or is it harmonious and working together? Okay. Now, this is interesting. If you have this defined sacral chakra, I want you to think about it this. It's as if you have this channel in your human design in which you can find out like when you're supposed to make a move. When you don't feel the juice, you got a yes, no switch. Okay, this is where it goes. Who you are meant to wait for, who you are meant to be intimate with. It either is going to draw you away from that person or it's going to pull you forward. And you've got to learn how, like, it takes a special something to get to the resonance. Okay. It could be a touch, it could be a hug, it could be a cry, it could be an honest conversation. But for you to resonate with another human being, to be drawn to them, you've got to, it's almost like a key has to be unlocked. And until then, your system is going to naturally keep things away from you. And this is attached to the tribal circuit group. So this is fighting people who do not believe what you believe is fruitless. Is a waste. Fighting people who do not believe what you believe is fruitless. That's the perfect statement. It doesn't give you anything. You think it makes you right. It doesn't. It makes them feel a certain way and you feel a certain way. Neither are right or neither are wrong. It's a waste of your time and your resources to fight people based on what you believe versus what they believe, okay? You have to be able to accept conflict exists without having to participate in it. And that's what you see this. And if you see this as a personal, how do I put this? You are suffering from an inferiority complex if you can't be in a room with people who don't agree with you. Let's get further into that, okay? Now, again, something is going to draw you in, and we're all experiencing this emotional wave. So if you are undefined, it's going to come out differently for you, but you're still experiencing this wave. Things draw you in or push you away until you can figure out how to harmonize with them. I want you to consider every relationship, everything in your reality from that perspective. Are you in harmony with what you're abundant in? Are you appreciative and grateful and accepting of all of the things currently being shown to you in your reality? This doesn't mean that you can accept something and say, you know what? I don't see how this is going. I don't have the capability to judge where it's going because that's not my job. But I'm holding out faith for a better future, and that will put you in a better resonance state than just feeling defeated in your reality constantly, being on the defense in your reality constantly. It's exhausting, okay? When you reach a conflict resolve, okay, you can create a resonance so deep with another individual that you could potentially either sway their opinion, they could sway your opinion, or you could come up with a new opinion together. You open up a potential field of more to come in when you're able to express yourself without anger or fear or victimhood or blame or judgment, and they are able to do the same thing. And you find places where you actually resonate, where that separation, what's drawing you together, we're all from source. Instead of focusing on the false resonance, then you automatically harmonize the energy between two people. Okay? You've got to seek the good in other people to experience the best of them. If you do not seek the good in other people and you're always looking for a reason to be agitated, annoyed, upset, victimized, judged, blamed, you will always find it. It's everywhere. Okay? But so are good people. We get to gene keys, we see immediately why, because shadow energy is conflict energy. Okay? So you have an on-off switch. You can go this way or you can go this way. You can go to heaven or you can go to hell. This is hell, this is heaven. You can be in the light or you can be in the dark. It's up to you. That's your free will. You get to choose how to maximize and potentialize this energy. But this information is coming to you, and you have a responsibility, if you're trying to evolve and grow, to work with it, okay? So we need to work on a path to peace, each of us, all right? So let's go into the first one, which is the shadow, and really delve deep here so we can all understand what this really is. Because if you stop seeing it as individual preferences and start seeing it from an energy basis, it's going to be so much easier for you to feel calm and at peace and in your personal power when you go out into the world and face scenarios in which you are fearing that there's conflict, okay? So this shadow has I'm going to start with this, a programming partner, which is Gene Key 36, which is all about turbulence. This keeps us conditioned to be nervous, overwhelmed, anxious, scared, and angry about life. So the turbulence you experienced in your past can keep you conditioned to be nervous, overwhelmed, anxious, scared, and angry. Okay? That's what these traumas can do to us. Whether it be outward or inward experience, the energy you send into the experience, because that's the thing. So whether I'm reading from my notes and then I'm talking, but whatever you're putting out, you're getting back. So if you are looking at your past experiences and you're feeling this shame, that shame has to go out into the world and show itself to you in real time so that you can interact with it and clear up that resonance. All right? This is all about your inability, my inability, our inability, they inability to handle the voltage of extreme emotional states. That's what conflict is, okay? And so, we as a society are addicted to conflict. We claim we want peace in our personal lives, yet we attack reality every chance we get. This is all about taming the beast. We just talked about that with the conflict in the I Ching, right? Our animal nature is programmed to defend certain electrical impulses through evolution. We are meant to overcome this and experience more, but you have to remember, like, so as cavemen, these shocks, these waves of energy, that's all it is like an electrical impulse. You can feel it now. If you think about what conflict is, it's like static electricity, right? We were taught like go, no go to keep us safe. And we've kept that conditioning and are using it in our everyday life, even though we've evolved past that as a society and as an individual. We're meant to overcome this experience. And we have to like remember that it's all about clearing up the wounds of humanity. All of our energy goes out into the collective field, and we all experience these traumas. All of the collective field energy comes back to us. It's never just about you. So all of your traumas are collective field traumas that you're filtering through you and experiencing to clear for the collective. And everything that you clear goes back to the collective clear, and everything you send out faulty goes back to the collective faulty. All right? So if you're sending out fear, you're going to see fear. If you're sending out despair, you're going to see despair. If you're sending out hope, you're going to see hope. If you are sending out worry, you're going to give yourself a reason to worry. All right? It's just a mirror. That's what it is. That's what this reality is. And the only way to change it is to work internally. We are in a loop of storylines based on the battle of the sexes and everything that's come from that throughout this creation, throughout the last, 12,000 years. I don't even know. But we're in this loop of constantly finding a new angle for the same fights over and over and over and over again. And the only way out is to get out and to see it from the above position, okay? I mean, these loops are showing up for me loud and freaking clear. As I'm looking through my lunar, like going back and looking at my phone, I'm seeing so many images of Luludi product and making recipes I never posted, never put out. Perfection, silly. I'm like, these are really good. Why didn't I put these out? Because there's this level of perfection, there's a level of overwhelm, and I'm stuck in this loop. I do this all the time. I create a shit ton of content, I never put it out. I create a shit ton of content, I never put it out. Because of always feeling like it has to be more perfect and more perfect and more perfect and more perfect. And it's not enough and it's not good enough. And I have to get off that ride, right? It's like silly to even consider it when I see it from the outside, but you get stuck in it so easily, all right? So what's our way out? We got to go a little further in before we can discuss that, but let's talk about that next. Okay. Now, I know you're going to feel me on this because I know this energy so well. I want to go back to this conflict energy, okay, for a second. I'm going to give you a scenario. I'm going to take it all the way there. You about to go to a barbecue, okay? And you know it's going to be people there that you don't politically agree with. You already know before you get there. Are you gearing up for a fight? Are you going in with action points and statistics and information to ensure that you're right in an argument? Do you bring that energy into the room? How many times, okay, and this is coming from a race perspective, as Black people, you know, my in-laws, my husband is Jewish, my husband is white, my in-laws do Maine vacation usually every year. I'm the only Black person in Maine. I might see one more Black person. Now, when I go to my favorite diner, Moody's, and I do all of this stuff, am I going to go into the room looking for the racist person? No, I don't want to have that experience. They know me now. We've been going there for so many years. I'm not going there, okay? And how many times do you go there? Do you walk in the room thinking someone's already amped up to attack you and you put your heckles up, and the energy of putting your heckles up in the room is what is determining the outcome that you experience? How many times do you do this with your relationships with your friends or your homies or your partners, right? Where you expect this idea of them. You enslave them into this concept of who you think you are. And then you go out and see them to judge them, to ensure that they are staying enslaved in your ideas of who they are. You haven't released them. And then you're pissed at what you saw when you're the one creating it. Okay? That's where that conflict energy comes from. It's judgment, because you are looking at all of the parts in the resonance of something you don't like instead of all the parts in the resonance of something that you do like, because you are resonating with that other individual. You are connected in some ways. You need to find the connection points, not the separation points. And that is going to tell you everything you need to know. Okay? Our path forward is diplomacy. What does it mean to be diplomatic? Okay? Let's think about this. Okay? Diplomacy are two parties coming to a table looking for reasons to coalesce, get along. Are you looking for reasons to coalesce and get along? And this is connected to the heart chakra, okay? If you go into a room using your heart chakra, allowing individuals to be themselves, remembering that your core resonance of what even magnifies you to this experience and everyone in it is God, is source, is the ultimate expression, because we are all connected to that same stream. We are all from that stream. We are all that stream of information, okay? When you can see people like that and allow them to be themselves without your judgment, you open up new opportunities, and your heart chakra can connect to more of your energy of the environment, and you're not so disjointed when you leave or are in a space, because you're blocking this energy trying to accept this energy, blocking this energy trying to accept this energy. All right? That's not how you got to go out. And it's so tied to the Venus retrograde right now, because you are trying to harmonize your existence, and that is what we're all doing. Next week's episode is all about the Venus retrograde. It's going to floor you. It's going to wow you. It's so fabulous. It's like the way that it makes this shape and all of the patterns, and just like how, like, it's just cool. I can't say anything more than that, but subscribe and you will see that next episode when it launches. Okay. Now, diplomacy requires two things. You got to bring your honesty to the table, okay? You cannot go in lying to be truly diplomatic. You've got to be able to be vulnerable and honest. You've got to be able to down your borders without fear of harm, knowing who you truly are, all right? You cannot hide from the conflict. You have got to learn to take that frequency of that jolt that comes into your stomach and says, oh, I don't like this. These people are idiots. They're brainwashed. This is crazy. And transform and alchemize it into charm, okay? And learn how to resonate with those that you would normally combat to bring peace to everything, okay? To properly discuss conflicting situations with another individual, because we cannot avoid. There is a timing and an honesty that happen in a dance of harmony and frequency and alignment that Venus is giving us the opportunity to play with, where when you get your timing right and your honesty right, in the right tone, in the right place, in the right time, you unlock a whole new level of a person, that other individual. Okay. Now remember, they're mirrors of your expression. So even if it's opposing energy, it's just a mirror of your extremism. You can find some information in there that could actually help you grow as a person and be who you truly want to be in the world. And here's the thing. This is all about emotional responsibility. You felt that jolt. They didn't send it to you. You just felt it. That's just your emotional impulses. No one can piss you off. No one can make you do anything. No one can make you a victim. No one can, as I said to my 9-year-old the other day, just because they call you a dummy don't mean you a dummy. If you want to be a dummy, argue with them about what they called you, okay? If you don't think you're a dummy, you're smart. Don't let them tell you who you are. It's your mind. They're not in it, right? It's the same idea. So Think about this from a perspective of emotional maturity, okay? She's 9. She gonna get into some conflict still. We're grown adults here. If everything somebody says to you can tick you off so much that you want to cuss everybody out, you're the problem. You're the problem, okay? You can't defend everything. You don't have to exist. It's such a waste of your precious energy. And it's not about not being around people who don't conflict with you, because then you become like sedated. You're not taking the evolution seriously. Okay? When you do this, what happens is you become the calm in all of the storm. When you can stay level-headed in times of conflict, or when someone's coming at you with an opposing side, mirroring something you probably believe, and you can be like, you know what? I'm going to talk about dogs. I'm going to talk about something else, or I'm going to explain myself in a way that maybe makes them chuckle, or, I'm going to come up with something else to do to use this energy to the best of my advantage, instead of just having a dull argument with someone that's going to get them more entrapped in their ideas. All right. When you do this, though, when you do this, you're going to keep your energy is going to become so calm that you become more empathic, and you can pick up on more energy in the field. So you will automatically walk in a room and know someone who has conflict energy before you even talk to them, and know what to do with that situation, how to mold it, how to make it malleable before any words come out of your mouth, and you're good anyway. It's all about unlocking emotional barriers. Without resonance, there is friction. That is what I have to say about that. When you do this, you get to the Sadi. That is an evolutionary point. That is an enlightenment point when you become peace, baby. Okay, so what is peace? Tranquility, no conflict, freedom from disturbance, stillness. Okay? You have no sides and no barriers. You have no boundaries, which allows for everything to flood in while you remain nothing. You get to be both the yin and the yang in their fullest expression when you get to peace. Balanced, all right? It's in essence removing yourself from the awareness of conflict to hold up the resonance of peace, so that that very conflict can resolve. Because remembering, it's your energy participating in the conflict if you are putting conflict energy into that energy, okay? If you are at all forging an opinion about the conflict, you bring energy to the conflict. You are an atom maker. You can bring in peace, you can neutralize it, or you can bring in disharmony. Venus is asking you to bring in peace, okay? And when you bring in peace, you transform the world, and you put more peace in the world. It's not about you, right? It's not about right or wrong. It's trying to transform the world through our actions by being responsible for ourselves. And that is what this energy is telling us to do. Now, we've got one more thing. We got to look at the Sabian symbol, and it's going to tie this all up in a nice little freaking bow. The Sabian symbol, lion tamer, okay? Learning how to control your shadows, learning how to tame the beast, the reptilian side of you, learning how to put the left side of the brain in check so that you are not just, remember, you either respond or you react. To react is to play out the scene that the left side is held on to, like a computer program telling you things that don't even exist anymore. To respond is to be responsible and take action in a way that is going to magnify and open up the field. Okay? So reacting is keeping the field closed, keeping you in a loop. Responding is opening up for more potential. It's all about learning to take the darker aspects of our nature, which are never to be denied or defeated, must be brought under the control of the will. This means we cannot ever relax our guard fully and will always be tested for tenacity and forbearance. It is well worth the effort, so that when we find the power to control our animal side, we can enlist the full package of natural resources allocated to us. I said this earlier. Okay, perfect. So this is where your abundance is in all ways. Virgo is telling you the reason that you have boundaries and blocks towards the things that you want in this reality is because something in your mind is conflicting, and you need to bring in the resonance of Venus, okay? You need to harmonize with your reality, accepting things as they are, seeing the good in them, finding the gold in them. That's our jobs right now. but do not take firm actions. Don't just cut people out. Don't just cut things out. Don't just stop doing like I tried to do with Luludi. Let the story play out and it'll tell you exactly what to do. Okay? Let it all play out and it'll tell you exactly what to do. 9 months from now, you will get a resolution on this energy. And you can keep up with it if you get the moon tracking information when you subscribe to the blog. The blog is now subscriber only because when you go there, you get your personal Virgo reading. Okay, so we're going to go over it sign by sign. You get every single sign and what that's got to say about you. But you got to subscribe for that because that takes a lot more work on my part. It's just another video though. So one more thing we need to go over here. We need to know, remember, we got this, it's not even a triangle. It's 1, 2, 3, 4-sided energy or 4-pointed energy. The triangle and then this tiny triangle. So we've got this planetary alignment down at the bottom, okay? And we've got excellent trines to Jupiter, Pluto, the sun, and the moon. Expansion, passion from Mars, transformation are all necessary based on what you decide to weed, filter, remove, cleanse, purify in this full moon. Okay. So I want you to focus on the Venus retrograde, trying to find that harmony. I want you to subscribe so you can get that Venus retrograde. It's going to take it even further, but we're talking about it when it gets to this next major peak that's happening next week. It's not there yet. I want you to try to write down what you think has to go in your mind to keep something. Try that first to see where your mindset is at. All right. Stay attached to the moon via the tracking cycle and try to find some harmony in your relationships with things that you find conflicting right now. Where can you find peace for your mind to allow traumas and tribulations and turbulence to take place without you falling victim to the fears associated with it and holding a strong resonance for that potential to maximize for the highest good? So that way you are an active participant in bringing in good energy and maximizing the potential of that energy to allow the turbulence to go in a positive direction and not a negative direction with fear or worry or doubt. Okay. Imagine that everything is here as it's supposed to be right now. It's your mindset that has to shift to see it differently. If you're sticking around and you're watching this on the blog, next up is all of the rising signs and how you can use Virgo to better get the most out of this energy. Other than that, I am Candace. Thank you for being here. Like, comment, subscribe. How was your eclipse portal Venus week retrograde going? Okay, stay strong. Love you.